Welcome to Aspire to Retire. I'm your host, Cheryl Nelson. I'm here with Ralph and Tim Short, along with Scott Earhart, all from Welcome Home Financial Partners. Good to be here with you guys again.
Thanks for having us. See you, Cheryl.
Yeah, so today we're talking about planning for the future. And this is something that gives a lot of people anxiety, or people are excited about it, but I think they're either in one or two different baskets. And so we want to dive right into that today and say, how does someone know what their income should be when planning for the future? I mean, that's the question I think we all have.
Well, what I would say, it takes a little work on their part because not everybody has the same income and expenses in retirement, but most people have no idea what it's going to be. So what we do is go through a process in our office to say, all right, what is it going to take for you to live the lifestyle that you want and to pay your bills, things like that. But it takes some work on your part.
Yeah, I know it takes work, and that's what a lot of people don't want to do, is they don't want to put in the work.
Right, and a lot of people have never sat down and taken a look at a budget. I mean, how many times have we sat down with folks and they don't even know what their electric bill is? So there are things that they need to go through. They need to go through their credit card expenses. They need to go through their utilities. There's so many things that you need to take a look at, but income is going to be very important in retirement.
And we make it sound like there's a lot of work here, and there is a lot of work on their part. But one thing that they need to analyze as well, what do they want their retirement years to look like? What do they want to do? It's not all the hard, unfun stuff. We want to talk about the fun things as well. What do you want to do? Do you want to travel? Do you want to spend time with grandkids? Things like that. We need to analyze all of that to make sure they've got the income that they need to achieve those goals.
Probably all of the above. And some people, though, they just say, I'm just going to wing it. I'll be fine. I don't need a plan. What would you say to those folks?
You plan on going back to work if it doesn't work out the way you thought?
Oh,
Would you agree?
ouch.
Yeah, it's not one of those things that you can just fly by the seat of your pants. It takes a lot of preparation. But like Scott says, it doesn't have to be super difficult, but you do need to take a look at the numbers, and that's a process that we go through.
Absolutely. And when you meet with people, how often do you meet with people who don't realize all the tools they need and options that there are when planning for retirement?
Well, there are a lot of people that way that, you know, they've saved for so long just in a 401k or an IRA. They don't know all the options that they have available. And the issue at that point in time is if you're just using a 401k, is most of that money is just in a pre-tax vehicle. You know, tax-free income is what a lot of folks have been hearing about, and that's what they want to take advantage of. Well, usually in your 401k, that's not going to be the case. So a lot of folks don't know because they haven't taken a look at different things because, hey, I'm not going to retire until I'm 60 or 65. I'm not going to worry about it until then. Instead, hey, I'm in my mid-40s or my mid-50s. Let's start looking at retirement plan at that point.
Yeah.
And you used a great word when we started the show, Cheryl, buckets. There's a lot of different buckets out there and different vehicles available that people just don't realize are there because you're working, you know, you're earning dollars. Well, at some point when you retire, the dollars got to start working for you. And having an advisor help you find those perfect buckets for your dollars to efficiently retire, that's what we're here to do.
But a successful retirement's all going to be about income because you have to have those buckets like you're talking about to have income, because what if one of the buckets that you're counting on is no longer there?
I know.
What are you going to do?
It's so true because there's these things that pop up in life, unexpected expenses. I just had that recently with my car. All of a sudden you're shelling out $1,000 that you didn't think you were going to need to do, and boom, there you go. Things like that happen, right?
But guess what happens if your health declines in your retirement? Because
Scary.
as we get older, and some of us are older and some of us aren't, we'll never get there. But that is another unexpected emergency plans that you have to have.
Absolutely. So then why do you believe it's so crucial to have an advisor, someone who specializes in income and retirement planning?
Well, let me tell you a story. I just met with somebody last week that they currently have had an advisor since 2018, and they're pretty satisfied with their advisor, but they've watched our show for a while, and they're like, my advisor doesn't talk to me about long-term care. They don't talk to me about all these other things. And they're like, that's why I've called you, because, you know, I have my meetings with him and I'm like, why has he not talked to me about this? So that's why they've come in, and hopefully they're going to become a client. But there's so many things that come into place when it comes to a successful retirement plan. It's not just about creating a big pot of money. Yes, that helps, but there's so many different things that incorporate a successful retirement plan.
And I'm glad you mentioned long-term care too, because that's one of the things that unfortunately many of us will be in a position where we either have it or we wish that we had it. and you just see what happens with nursing homes and everything, and you want to be able to have those options. And so that's one reason why it's so important to talk to folks like you who specialize in this. And also, when it comes to taxes, that's something that a lot of us don't like to talk about. So what can proper tax planning do for our income plan?
Well, it's all about distribution of the funds to yourself, right? When we start earning, money starts working for us. We're taking dollars out, like Tim was talking about earlier, pre-tax accounts. If you have an advisor and you have that money separated out into different areas, you can choose when you're taking those dollars, how much tax you want to pay. I mean, the government's going to tell you the percentage, but where are we taking those dollars from, and how can I efficiently use those dollars in my retirement to make sure I'm not paying Uncle Sam any more than I have to.
Yeah, and it can save you, if you do a proper tax plan, it could save you a couple $100,000 over your retirement years. So it's not all about what you make, it's about what you keep, and that's the important thing.
Save a couple $100,000. Did you just say that?
Yeah, it's possible.
Really?
Absolutely.
This is something that I think a lot of us don't realize. I don't realize that. And there's so much to talk about when we talk about taxes, isn't there?
Yeah, because believe it or not, when you retire, your tax bill does not go away. A lot of people will think, oh, I'm retired, I don't have to pay tax. It's always based on your income, because we've always been told in retirement you're going to be in a lower tax bracket. And with things that are going on in today's economy, we don't know what's going to be like next year. And most people that we talk to, their income is a whole lot more than it was when they were in their 20s and 30s. So now all of a sudden you got a tax bill that you weren't prepared for because you've got to take that money out.
You mean you don't have a crystal ball to tell us what's going to happen?
Well, maybe Scott and Tim does, but
You guys,
I don't.
you have a crystal ball?
Nope.
Did you bring
no
yours?
crystal ball.
No.
Well,
Okay.
no.
Not
No,
today.
didn't do it,
If we
didn't do
had
it.
a crystal ball, we'd probably all be billionaires,
Yeah,
right? If
right.
it worked, we'll
Right,
say that.
that's right.
But there's also other things that you got to think about, is not just the income, but what if you're married and your spouse passes away? So you lose deductions. There's so many things that come into place, and you've got to make sure that you don't have everything just sitting in one bucket. We always kind of go back to the bucket strategies, is you've got to make sure that with your proper plan, life's going to throw you curveballs. You've got to be flexible.
Definitely want to be flexible. And guys, we do have to take a brief break, but before we do that, we have a special offer, don't we?
Absolutely. So for the first 10 callers who have saved $250,000 or more for retirement, we'd like to personally sit down with them in the office. If they call the number 833-897-4845, we'll create their very own retirement plan just for them. Cheryl, the best part is we'll do it on a complimentary basis.
Oh, we love the word complimentary. And hey guys, see that QR code on the screen? Yeah, you want to go ahead and scan that as well. That makes it super easy, so you can do that. The phone lines are open if you'd like some advice, as Tim said, about retirement planning and more. You want to call that number, 833-897-4845. Again, 833-897-4845. So don't go anywhere, because coming up next, we're going to talk about more with retirement plans. Stay right here with us.
Imagine the future you've been wanting all along. A world where your retirement income is covered and you don't have to worry. Your financial assets are protected, and you have an experienced team fighting every day to grow your assets. Imagine a company creating tax strategies and legacy plans to make sure your loved ones are protected no matter what happens. At Welcome Home Financial Partners, we're an experienced financial team with the right professional licenses and an unbreakable commitment to making our clients feel like family. Here you'll find determined, friendly faces in a world filled with obstacles and problems. We help plan your retirement income to ensure you won't run out of money in retirement. We build in protection to make sure your assets are covered on all sides. We focus on growing your wealth to combat inflation and rising cost of living. And we design tax strategies to help you avoid paying back what you shouldn't while protecting the people you love. Our team never stops fighting for you. With an unparalleled work ethic, we work hard because we know your future depends on it. We're proud to help you choose the life you want to live in retirement. Welcome to your financial future. We're so glad you're here.
Welcome back to Aspire to Retire. We're having a great show today. We're talking all about retirement, which I know is something that a lot of us look forward to, but we have to keep in mind the income How much income do you have? How much will you have for retirement? That's the million-dollar question. So we're here today to talk more about that. And guys, let's dive right into this. Why is income the foundation for retirement?
Well, how are you going to fund your life? I mean, life doesn't stop when we stop working. It still happens. There are things we want to do. There are bills we have to pay, unfortunately. So you have to have the income stream in order to be retired.
The other thing I would say to people is understand this. The first day of your retirement was the last day of your paycheck. So you still have bills, you still have your lifestyle needs that you want. Now you have to have the income to do it. How are you going to produce those paychecks for yourself? Because you're responsible for that now.
That's really scary when you put it that way. Say that line again.
The first day of your retirement was the last day of your paycheck.
Ooh, that gives me goosebumps just hearing that. And so I think this is why it's important to have multiple streams of income, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and most people used to get pensions, but now most people don't get pensions anymore. And with Social Security being kind of up in the air right now, it's not a good strategy to rely solely on Social Security or a lot on Social Security because we just don't know what's going to happen with that. Every year you hear a new report that, you know, it was 2034, now it's 2033. God knows where it's going to be in a couple of years, right? So we just got to make sure that the assets that you've built, we've got to create those income streams based off of that. But without pensions, without Social Security being up in the air, or with Social Security being up in the air, we've got to make sure that we have that dependable income streams coming into you because you don't want to retire from life, you want to retire from your job, and hopefully we live longer in our retirement years than we do while we were working.
Yeah, and if people were planning on retirement thinking they'll have all this money from Social Security, do you think they're going to have the retirement that they've always dreamed about?
It's according to what their dreams are. You know, if it's just minimal, probably you're okay. But most people have got a little bit better idea of what they want to do in life because they've sacrificed 40 years working for somebody. And now all of a sudden you've got to enjoy your life because there are certain things that you do need to understand about Social Security because number one, you don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen. Only thing I can tell you is Social Security is going to be different tomorrow, a year from now than it is today. What that's going to be, we don't know. But the other reason is, why do we have so many people not having pensions anymore? Because people need to understand, they put the burden of your retirement back on your shoulders instead of the companies or the government or people, things like that.
And I think that's why it's so important for people to come in, sit down with us, and do the worksheets and create that roadmap because everybody's a little bit different. Someone that's got a large amount of debt going into retirement, they still may have mortgage payments, maybe they've got student loans or credit card payments. Social Security is probably not going to cover that and give you the lifestyle you want. Now, everybody's a little different, so that's why we sit down, we do the roadmap, and we help them figure out what they need to achieve their retirement goals.
Are you telling me, Scott, that the talking heads on TV that says you need this amount of money or this, they know your particular situation and everything should be done that way?
That is 100% not what I'm telling you.
All right, I just want to check.
I'm glad that you said that because that would be really creepy if they knew your situation and yours and yours. We don't want that, right? That's why we want to sit down with professionals like you to talk about this and really break things down because I think a lot of people make mistakes when they're planning for retirement. What type of mistakes do you see?
Well, one of the big things with pensions, people who still have pensions now, a lot of companies now are offering pension buyouts and people don't know what to do. And we've met with people recently that have been offered pension buyouts and what happens is they just take it and they cash it out because they don't know any better. So if they were offered a lump sum payout of $300,000, they just put it in their bank account, guess what? The IRS is going to come knocking on their door next year and they want a big cut of that. So they don't realize the tax ramifications of the pension buyout. So if you have a pension and you get a letter in the mail or HR or whatever, and they're saying, hey, these are your options, you really need to get that professional help. And that's something that we're seeing a lot recently.
Yeah, what I would say too is my best teacher I've ever had has been experience. So how many times do you retire? And retiring is a process because a lot of things, if you're lucky enough to have that pension, there are things that you have to do that you have no idea. And your HR people, they can only give you that page or that paper without saying this is what you need to do, but they don't explain anything. So that's why you need to make sure, because once you make that decision, it's done with.
You can't go back.
You can't go back.
And it's like you say, you know, companies now have put the burden on the employee now because they don't offer the pension. but yet the employee is not going to go out and seek that help, but the company no longer can provide that help anymore. So that's where we come into the retirement crisis that we see in the country, is because people, I mean, we see it all the time. How many people either procrastinate or they don't do anything about it because they see that statement in the mail. They're like, oh, okay, well, there's my retirement plan because I've got some money. But they really don't think about what retirement is truly about, and you've got to turn that money into income. And that sounds weird to people because it's like, hey, well, money is income. Well, yes, it is, but you've got to make sure that you strategically do it because, hey, if you've got $500,000 and you've got it in the market and the market loses 50%, how much money do you have, right? You just lost half your money. But if the market immediately jumps back up 50%, you don't have what you currently had before the drop. So many people get caught up in percentages and this and that. You just have to make sure that you protect yourself once you get close to retirement or in retirement.
Yeah, because once you get close to that age, you really start to think about it and go, oh man, I should have done this when I was in my 40s or in my 50s, and people are going at the last second, finally talking to somebody, or maybe they did talk to somebody, maybe that professional wasn't right for them. Is it okay to seek a second opinion?
Absolutely, it's okay to seek a second opinion. It's like going to the doctor or going to see a dentist. You know, you need to get multiple opinions, and you also need to find the team that's right for you. It's got to feel right for you. It's got to be a plan you can understand and implement into your life. And you should always seek a second opinion.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you're going and interviewing for a job. You want to make sure that you gel with the people you're going to be working with and working for, because if you don't, guess what? It's a relationship, and you don't want to be stuck in a bad relationship. And one with your financial advisor, you want that to be a good relationship as well. Now, if folks are just tuning into the show, Tim, we have that special offer. Why don't you tell them again?
Yeah, we do. So for the first 10 callers who have saved $250,000 or more for retirement, we'd like for them to call this number 833-897-4845. What they would expect to get is a sit-down meeting in one of our 3 offices around town. And we'll create that very own retirement plan for them. And Cheryl, the best part is we'll do it on a complimentary basis.
All right, that sounds good to me. And guys, that QR code in the corner of your screen, scan that with your phone. That way you can schedule an appointment. Do that right now as well. Just walk up and go ahead and scan that. And in the meantime, don't go anywhere, because coming up next, we will feature some of your burning questions. Stay with us.
It was the longest running bull market in history. Everything was looking up. While inverted yield curves pointed to a recession, the market kept going. And then, if you're planning to retire soon, that could spell bad news for your returns. Our team can help you better withstand the bear market. Now more than ever, you need a financial professional to stand with you. Visit our website to learn more about our services. You can call or email our office to schedule your complimentary consultation today.
Welcome back to Aspire to Retire. It's our favorite part of the show. It is time to feature your burning questions. Oh, guys, I love this one because we always get great questions here. So we're going to start with this one. What can viewers expect by being one of the callers on today's show?
So what people can expect is a sit-down meeting with one of us in the offices, create this very own retirement plan. But not only that, they get to know us. First meeting is all about getting to know each other, because that's what it's all about. You know, it's not just about the numbers for retirement when it comes to the financial numbers. It's also about the number of memories that you're going to create in retirement. So it's very important to go through the process of getting to know each other, figuring out what their aspirations are, what their goals are for retirement, and then starting from there.
Okay, now that we know that, let's dive into your questions. We're going to start with Melissa from Sandston. Melissa says, I currently have an advisor and the fees seem high. My last statement looked to be an annual fee of 2%. So what are your thoughts on that?
So that's a very good question. That's something we hear a lot, is about fees, because a lot of people want to have everything for free, right?
Yeah.
But fees aren't necessarily a bad thing. What we have to make sure of is that you provide a value for that fee. Whatever the fee is, whether it's 2%, 1%, 3%, whatever it is, you have to make sure that you're getting a value. So I'm not sure what the advisor is actually providing for you, but if you feel like the value is worth 2%, then maybe it's not bad. But that's what it's all about. So anytime an advisor is going to manage money for you, there's going to be some sort of fee. As long as you're comfortable with the fee and you feel like you're getting a value for it, then maybe it's not a bad thing.
But what I would also say in that point is, what is he providing for you? Is
Yeah.
it just a cookie cutter type of program that all they do is put the money in and you
Yes.
forget about it?
Yes.
Or is he actively saying, this is some different things that I would suggest to you during a year? So wouldn't you agree? Scott?
Absolutely. Tim hit it on the head, Ralph hit it on the head, the value. There has to be value for the client. And every time that I say this to clients all the time, every time you meet with me, you need to find value. I need to be doing something to continually earn your business and continually help you achieve your goals. So it's all about value.
I'm glad you said that, because sometimes it's a percentage and sometimes it's a flat fee per month. And I see that on one of my accounts and I'm going, why does this money keep coming out? What are they doing for me? I haven't talked to them.
That is a question that a lot of times we hear in the office. What are they doing for?
Yes. Drives me crazy.
Yeah.
So, Melissa, great question. Let's move on to our next question. Rick from Mechanicsville. Rick says, I've been the primary income earner throughout my marriage. How can I ensure that my spouse has an adequate income if I pass on first?
That's a great question, and that's the core of today's show and why we're here to talk
Yeah.
about creating that income plan, that retirement plan. You certainly need to chat with your advisor, certainly need to work through some scenarios to plan for that and ensure that your spouse or your survivor is taken care of. And we can help you do that very, very easily, actually.
Yeah. But I would also say they need to understand there are certain rules and regulations, like with Social Security or your pension, that they have to be aware of that might help in that planning process, but you also need to take responsibility. There are programs out there that we would recommend to that individual to make sure that there's enough income coming into that spouse, whether they're there or not.
And I know it's something a lot of people don't like to talk about or think about, but it's better to think about it now before something like that happens, because in the moment, how are you supposed to think clearly about anything?
But the other thing too is it's called enhanced planning, where a lot of people don't understand what that means. It's taking a look at everything that you've got going on, not just your income coming in, but let's say that both of you are gone. Where do you want that amount of money going at that point in time?
Right.
How's the best way for them to get that over to maybe your kids or your grandkids, things like that? But it takes a lot more than just say, hey, I want this,
Yeah.
okay?
And I think all three of us can say we've experienced one of our clients' survivors giving us a call. They get a black binder from us and it says, call Ralph, call Scott, call Tim if the worst should happen. And we've all gotten that call and bring them in, sit down, help them work through the plan that the client that passed away had laid out for them to take care of them and their financial needs moving forward.
Yeah, and not only that, we like to sit down with spouses and with family members, and so that way if something were to happen, you know, they already know us, so it's not, you know, trying to relearn, you know, try to build that relationship with the spouse or the kid or whatever the case may be. But we do the black binder, and we've had folks that we haven't met before, you know, spouse or children or what have you, and they've opened that up and said, okay, hey, these are the guys I have to call.
But the other thing too is a lot of clients will say, this is what we've done, because we make recommendations to them, and come to find out when they're no longer here, they didn't do what they were supposed to do. I mean, I got one client right now that had passed away, and she told me she had changed the beneficiary to her daughter. She did not.
Oh.
So now it's got to go through probate, and now they're not able to get the money that they thought they were going to get on a timely fashion to do the things that they needed to get done. So those are all things that people need to understand. It's just not about coming in and seeing us.
Wow, no, you guys, you have a hard job to do that. You get to know these people like family, and then you see them at their worst as well. I think I'm also going to call you angel workers. Can I call you that as well?
Not sure
That's the
about that
first
one.
time I've ever heard that.
Angel workers. I think you guys are. Really? All right, next question. Stacy from Verina. Stacy says, I'm concerned Social Security won't be there for me in retirement. We've talked about this. How can I ensure I have enough income to live?
Have a retirement income plan. And what I mean by that is have multiple sources of income, not just dependent upon Social Security, because we don't know what it's going to be. It might be here tomorrow, it may not be, but more than likely it's going to be here years down the road, but we just don't know in what form, because if you make a certain amount of money, you may not be able to get any because it's kind of going defunct the way they're talking, but we don't know that for a fact. So having sources of income other than Social Security, other than pension, 401ks, things like
All
that.
different streams.
Yep, and we talked about it earlier. The plan needs to be flexible because we don't know what life is going to throw at us. And that's one thing we try to do for all of our clients is make sure that they have a plan they can implement and make sure it's flexible for the things that we can't foresee.
Speaking of that, our next question, Martin from Midlothian. Martin says, how do I combat inflation? I want to make sure I'm able to maintain my lifestyle and buying power throughout retirement. Oh, I hate inflation. I hate it. We can't avoid it.
So inflation means what? It means your costs are going up without any good reason.
Exactly.
So all of a sudden your grocery bill went from $50 a week to $100 a week or even more.
All of that. Hotel prices, airfare, everything.
Right. So what you're going to have to do is only thing that you can do is control the things that you can control. Do the things that you need to do. Have that income stream coming in that you can take care of the inflation when it hits, because it's going to hit. It's going to go up, it's going to go down.
And that's kind of where we focus on those bucket strategies, right? So we've got protected growth, we've got safety. We kind of mix everything together so that way if inflation goes up to 9% like it was a couple years back, we make sure that we combat that. But that's one of the things that you can hear it on TV if you watch the news. You know, you hear, oh, it's 9% or it's 6%, whatever it is. That doesn't mean it's across the board, right? So if you look at car sales, you know, if you go buy a car now, it's up 30%, right? So there's so many different things that come into play, but usually it's gas or it's groceries that hits you the worst. So you've got to make sure, because those are everyday expenses, you've got to make sure that you've got multiple streams of income, like we always talk about, that is going to combat the inflation.
And the problem is salaries aren't going up with inflation, are they?
It'd be nice if they did.
Who do we talk to about that?
I'm not sure.
You don't know?
Why is everybody looking at me?
Maybe you've got the special key. I don't know. I don't know. All right, we're coming to a close here, but let's do one final reminder before we go.
All right, so yeah, we got this special thing for the audience. If they call 833-897-4845, first 10 callers who have saved $250,000 or more, we'd like to personally invite them into the office where we will create their very own retirement plan. And Cheryl, the best part is we'll do it on a complimentary basis.
All right, good stuff, guys. Again, call right now, 833-897-4845, or scan that QR code on the bottom of your screen. Schedule an appointment, and if you have questions, you could be featured on our next episode. So, on behalf of all of us here at Aspire to Retire, I'm your host, Cheryl Nelson. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.